Welcome to the Wild Enthusiasm for Living podcast. I am your host, Dr. Melissa Mann. Join me for conversations about possibilities and tools for having more joy, more play, and way more of you. What would it be like to wake up every day with a wild enthusiasm for living? Hello and welcome to the Wild Enthusiasm for Living podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Mann, and I am so grateful to be here with you today. Today, we will be talking about life purpose. And so if you know somebody in your life that's been contemplating what their purpose is, where they would like to go, and what direction, share this with them. It might be a contribution to them too. So let's dive in. So we just finished off a manifesting series, and that got me thinking, what next? What is it that people have been asking about, have been coming into my office with? And the topic that has been up in people's worlds lately has been this existential, deep desire to know, what am I here for? Why did I choose to embody on this planet at this time? And what is my purpose that I came here for? And some people feel like they know this already. And a lot of people might have thought they knew it. And now they're questioning whether or not that still holds true, or if something different is true now. And I really want to start with that when we talk about purpose, it's not about making it significant. It's not about getting stuck in it and being like, this is the reason I'm here. So I can only do things that are that thing and nothing else, and allowing it to change if it changes. Sometimes we have a purpose from a certain time in our lives. And once we get through that time, it's really easy to be like, well, I don't know what to do now. I feel really lost, because in many ways, I feel as though I've already fulfilled my purpose, or I feel like it's changed in some way, shape, or form. So if that's showing up for you also, you're not wrong. We change. We're allowed to change. And as we go through our lives, different things are going to pop up, different experiences, or you start to see like, oh, this is actually important to me now. And maybe it wasn't before. I know if I look at my own journey, there's things that when I first became a psychologist, that alone felt like my purpose. And then there were times within the field of psychology where I was like, this is the population I'm supposed to work with. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I did that for a period of time. And over time, it's sort of shifted to something different. It's sort of weaned into um, something else. And that continues to evolve as I go through my career. And it's certainly not all psychology based. Then I got into energy work and energy healing and the spiritual work. And all of those different facets of my life have felt like different parts of my purpose and my bigger purpose in a lot of ways. So acknowledge that if you don't have this all figured out, or you thought you had it figured out and now it doesn't quite seem to hold true anymore, it's all okay and it's all included. What I wanted to share with you today are some ways that you might just start to get some clarity, some questions you might ask yourself, some experiences you might put yourself through, maybe some journaling prompts, just different things that you can start to get really present with in figuring out, like, what am I actually here for, and what are my values, and what matters to me. I did an interview earlier today, and I said, as I do at all interviews when I'm looking to hire for my practice, why this practice? And she said, your values are very clear in your website and the things that matter to you and your mission in the world. And I really resonated with that. And I was like, that's so interesting. I always think about things like that, the way that people word things and the answers I get to those questions, because I don't know that I had thought of it that way, but I see it. And I was just looking at like, oh, I guess I am relatively clear at this point on what my values are and what I'm here to create, even though the avenue from which I do that has changed a number of times and will probably continue to change and evolve. So give yourself the space to have that also. So One of the first things that I look at when I'm talking to people around this question of purpose is, what are the things, first of all, that light you up? Anything. And looking at the things that light you up, it doesn't have to be in a job. It might be, I really enjoy nature. Okay. I really enjoy being outside. I really enjoy um that environment. Okay. Is that part of your purpose? Maybe, maybe not. But then let's go through, what are all of the things that light you up that you enjoy? Why do you enjoy being outside? Well, you enjoy being connected to the earth. Okay. Is that a value of yours? Being connected to the earth, being connected to the earth spirits, being connected to the environment. Maybe it has to do with sunlight or wind or water. We all have different things that we're connected to that might be a value of ours. So, in my day to day psychology practice, it doesn't maybe seemingly have a lot to do with the earth. However, it's really important to me to have natural light wherever I am, because I know that that is one thing that when I'm adding it into my life, I feel good. So maybe you get some insight as to what your purpose is when you're looking at these things that light you up. Or maybe it just gives you some awareness about your non negotiables, about the things that when you're looking at what you want to do with your life from a career standpoint, the things that really matter to you. So, what else? What else lights you up? Is it spending time with people that are aligned with you? Is it spending time more alone? Is it engaging in creative activities? Is it writing and having time for introspection? Do you prefer structure? Do you prefer non-structure where you have a creative freedom to sort of do what you want on your own time in your own way? All of those things are important things to look at. So even if you're like, I don't know how me enjoying swimming has anything to do with my life purpose, start to look at, what is it about that thing though that is the energy and the feeling that you get from that. So for swimming, for example, I'm not a swimmer, but I know people who are. They love the fluidity of the water and the space and the quiet, where they get to have time to themselves and to challenge themselves while also being introspective. And everybody has a different answer for things like that. Two people can love to swim and they'll give you completely different reasons for why. So just look at all the things that you enjoy, all the things that you feel alive when you're doing, and then break it down into like, but what is it about this that I enjoy? You might even come up with a moment in your life where you felt like you were being 100% you. You were on top of the world. You were like, yes, this is it. This is what I love. This is what I want to do. And it doesn't have to be a career related moment. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. It could be anything where you were just like, this is it. This is like why I'm alive. And go through, like, what was it about that moment? Was I with the people I love? Was I doing something that I love? Who was I being in that moment? Was I confident? Was I strong? Was I engaging? Was I soft? Was I in my heart? What was it about that moment for you that stands out? And that starts to give you a sense of your values, of the things that are really important to you, because in those moments, that's when you felt the most alive. That's when you felt the most you. So make a note of those things, and you can write all this stuff down. If you're like driving, listening to this, maybe save it, listen to it again later, and take some time to really look at, like, it might be a few moments. When are those few moments in your life where you were like, everything just came together? I felt like myself. And maybe there's a picture of that moment and maybe there isn't. But if there is, you might go back and look at that picture and go, okay, what was it in those moments that lit me up so much, that made me so happy? And what about that can I now take into the rest of my life? Where can I see the translation of the the values, the importance, the way I was showing up, the way I was being, that translates now into what is part of my purpose here on the planet? Another thing you can do is look at the total opposite of that. Look at it for a time where you felt awful, where things did not go well. You were frustrated, you were angry, you were sad, and look at that moment and go, okay, what was it about that though that made me feel that way? Because that will also give you insight as to what you don't want and what's important to you. So, if you had a moment in time where you were expecting to get a promotion and you didn't get it, and the email that came through that you didn't get it, or the sit down conversation you had with your boss, and that's still like this sort of like ugly, icky moment in your world, look at what about that created that. So there was something that was obviously important to you that was being blocked. So what was it that you had great ideas and they weren't being heard, or that you felt like you weren't your best self, you weren't doing your best? What was happening in your life at that time? And what is the opposite of that? Because when we can see also where things are not at peak, or if we're not showing up the way that we'd like to show up, we can also see like, oh, but that was really important to me to be able to have a voice in that company. And I didn't have that. So now I know it's important for me to have a voice. It's important for me to have an opinion. It's important for me to feel heard. It's important for me to work with people that feel aligned, that are supportive. And in that moment, I didn't have those things. So now you can see, okay, but now I know that those things are important to me and maybe part of my purpose. So start to look at some of those different things. Something I've been playing with a little bit is looking at it's called the 5 whys, and I've heard this in a number of different places. A workshop I took years ago, and I read it in a book recently. It's kind of come from a few different areas, but it's something that I find to be helpful when I'm really trying to get at like, why do I do what I do? And I've done this with clients also. So you can kind of take anything that you enjoy doing or anything that's important to you, and start with the like, well, why do you do that? So, if we were to look at this podcast, this is just sort of an easy example because here we are doing this podcast. Um, so if I look at this and I'm like, okay, well, why do I have a podcast? Or why did I even start the podcast? And I might say, well, it was important for me to have a voice in the world and to get my ideas into the world. Okay. So why is that important to you? Well, because I think that I think differently than maybe some other psychologists, and that I offer something that other people might not have heard before. And I've done a lot of reading of books and workshops and all sorts of things to gain the knowledge I have. And I'd like to share that knowledge with the world. Okay. We're on why number 2. So, okay. So why is that? Why do you want to share those ideas with the world? Why is that important to you? Well, do you like how I'm talking to myself to tell you how I would do this? But then you could do this for you. So that's why I wanted to show you. So, okay, well, why is that important? Well, it's a value of mine to have people feel good. I desire for people to have a wonderful life, to have tools that they need to feel really good about their life, about themselves, about what they're creating, so that they are happier. Okay. So then why is that important? I mean, why is it important to me that people are happy, that people are living their best life, that they are truly having a wild enthusiasm for living? Like, why does that matter to me? Well, if I look at that at a bigger picture, when people feel good, they're kinder people. When people feel good, they are spreading positive energy. They're more positive to be around. They're kinder to their coworkers. They're kinder to their children. They're kinder to their spouses. And that ultimately creates a ripple effect of kindness and joy in the world. Okay. So, why is that important to me? Because it creates a greater world. Happy people don't hurt people. Happy people are creating a greater planet. Happy people work together to create solutions so that there can be more peace on the planet, so that there are less wars, so that there are, um, you walk through the street and the energy is a higher vibe. And when the energy is a higher vibe, it sustains the planet, it sustains everything in our universe to raise its frequency and creates a greater world for not only myself and the people I care about, but for the future. So I go through those whys and I get to the end of like, wow, what's really important to me is to create a greater world and to create joy and happiness and peace in the world. And that's a value of mine, is for people to be kind and joyful. So we started with why have a podcast, right? And then as I go through it, I can get to, okay, but this is why that matters to me. So you can do that for anything. You can do that. Why did you go to school for the thing you went to school for? Why did you take this job? Why did you start writing that book? Why did you become a parent? Why did you get married? Why did whatever you're trying to kind of get down to the nitty gritty? Because it doesn't totally matter what you start with. If you start to look at like, why did I choose this, and what about this is important to me, you will start to get to your values, which in turn will get to your purpose. So play with this. And it doesn't have to be 5. That's, a good place to go, because it will take you up further and further. But you might get to that on why number 3. But it just gives you some awareness as to like, okay, but what is actually important to me, and what am I here to be, and what am I here to create? Something else you look at is what is something like, these are maybe more like journaling prompts. Like if you start with like, I'm happiest when. When are you happiest? What are you doing when you're happiest? What about that experience makes you happy? And look at that now. And I want you to also look at that for when you were a child, maybe, or maybe like when you were sort of like a young adult, depending on how old you are now, and see if it's changed, because it might have. Your values very well may have changed, and it might not have. If there's certain things in your life that you're like, yeah, but I remember being so happy when blank, is that still true for you? What about that is still true? And what about that is maybe not true? So if I look at myself, if I go back to my like 20s, I was happiest when we had a big group of us and we were out and we were drinking and we were having a really good time. And if I look at that today, okay, but do I want to do that now? Maybe not to that level, right? Not like that anymore. I don't have partying as a like value of mine now. But what about that is still true? I still really enjoy time with people I care about and laughing together and sharing in something together. So that's still true for me, even if the partying and getting really drunk and things like that don't still align with who I am today. But I can see where there's parts of that that are still true in the community and the being among people and feeling comfortable in my skin and just enjoying being with people. I just don't need alcohol to do that anymore. And so, like, that's something you can look at. I'm happiest when. And the next part is, if I didn't care what anybody thought I would, what is that for you? Because that is often the thing that you like really came here to do and be, that you've just been afraid to dive into. Because you're like, what would people think? I remember so many things in my life when I started doing life coaching. I was like, I'm a psychologist. What would people think? I have a degree and now I'm doing life coaching. And I had to get over that because it created a lot for me. Things like doing a podcast, oh my goodness, people are going to listen to what I have to say. And that leaves me open for judgment. Starting a practice, leaving a good paying job that was stable. You start to look at all these things that we're afraid to do or leave to do something else because of what we perceive people will think. So if it wasn't about what people would think, if you didn't care, what would you actually do? And those are so often the things that will make you light up. But we let other people's judgments and what we've decided other people's judgments will be, whether it's true or not, limit us. So start to look at, like, if I didn't care what anybody thought and I just did what I really wanted to do for me, what is that? And the other things you can start to play with are sort of like when you look at like what you want to be in the world. So if you have something that you're like, everybody should know this. So you might start this as everybody should know. And what is that? For some, you might have had an experience. You might have had a medical experience where you're like, oh, I wish I would have known this. Or you might have had a work experience where you're like, oh, if I wish I would have known this sooner. Or it could be 100 different things. Everybody should know what, or what do I wish I would have known before I had blank experience? And often sharing that with the world can be part of your purpose. If it's important to you, if you're like, yes, everybody should know this, everybody should know that joy is possible. Everybody should know that um, energy work can heal the body. Everybody should know that parenting doesn't have to be as hard as everybody's making it. Whatever that is for you. Everybody has different things that that they've experienced in their own life. And if there's something like that, often that is part of your purpose, is to let people know that there is something else possible other than what they might have been taught, told, sold, whatever that is. And what are the things that pull at your heartstrings? Are there things that you see in the world that you're like, this is unjust, this is not okay? I really need to be a part of the solution. I need to be a part of changing this. And often that will give you some information on what your purpose is. So you can play with those things. So if you want to make that as a journal prompt, it's like, this is the thing that pulls the most at my heartstrings, and you can write about that. So, like I've said, this isn't about like coming to one thing where it's like, this one word is my life purpose. Maybe it is one word, and allow it to be your life purpose right now. This does not have to be forever. But if you're looking for a jumping off point, if you're looking to change careers, if you're looking to start a business, if you're looking to just have a more grounded, confident sense of who you are and what you came here to be and do, these are some really good places to get started and just play with it. And please do this from play. Please don't do this from significance of, now I have to do just this thing, or now I have to find the perfect job that matches this exact thing. Because sometimes you will, and you'll have it and you'll be like, this is amazing. And other times your purpose might be fulfilled in your career, sort of. And then you might have other things that you do, hobbies, activities, things that you do in your personal life that also are part of it. And so it doesn't all have to fit into one nice little neat package. It might, but it doesn't have to. And allow that to be known and true for you too. I've told many people who are like, but I don't want to quit my job. I like my job, but I don't know that it's my purpose. Cool. You don't have to quit your job. Keep your job. And then find other things that light you up. Maybe you volunteer somewhere and that's part of it. Maybe it's part of the way you are with your family. Maybe it's the way you are with your friends. Maybe it's that you really value community. And so you hold like community events, whether it's, family events, or maybe it's the community that you live in, or maybe it's for other people in your profession, whatever those things are. I can't give you exactly what it is for you. I can only give you the examples from my own life, but you get to know these things for you, and you can start to question and play with, okay, what am I here to create? And if I didn't have to do this from pressure, and if I didn't have to come up with the right answer, how can I just start to play with, like, what are the things that I feel like I am lit up by? What am I most myself when I'm doing? When do I feel the most confident? And one more thing, or what are the things that come easy for you that you don't even think about because they come so easy for you? And you have to kind of look for these. This is one of those things that I've heard for a really long time, and I was always like, I don't know. And then I'd have these moments where I'd be doing something and somebody'd be like, oh, can you help me with this? I'm like, yeah, here you go. And it would be seconds. And they would be like, what? I've been trying to do that for like hours. And those are the things, but you just kind of have to pay attention and like make a note of the things that come really easy for you that other people might struggle with, because that often is some part of your talent, your purpose, the reason you're here, because you have certain things that are just come easy for you that you don't think about, but that for other people, that's really valuable. I didn't even think about this today. I mentioned this interview. Obviously, it was like the last thing on my head this this afternoon is, we were talking about teaching and supervising, and I forget that not all people like to supervise and teach, new um counselors and psychologists and things like that. And I was just saying in passing how that's really fun for me. I enjoy that. She's like, "Oh, that's so good to hear. So many people like don't want to do that." And so that's, been a challenge. And so I thought that was so interesting. I was like, "Why would anybody not want to teach? That's so fun for me." And it comes really easily to me to give people information that maybe they didn't have before that might help them on their journey or help them become better clinicians or in any other aspect I'm teaching. But that was a reminder to me that that's something that comes really easily for me that I don't think about. So, what are the things for you that come so easily that you don't even think about? And that also might add in to what you're coming up with. So maybe you do a little journaling. Maybe you do a little bit of just introspection and start to look at like what are these things in all the things we've talked about? What are the moments, what good and bad? What are the things that light me up? What is fun for me? And what truly would you do if you could do anything? If the sky was the limit and there was nothing in your way, there was nothing stopping you, and you didn't care what anybody thought, what are those things? And that will start to give you insight into what is your purpose and why did you come here? So, thank you so much for listening today. I hope that you got something out of this. Please, if you did, leave a review and share this with somebody you think it would contribute to. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great rest of your day.